Have you watched the Squid Game? It's climbing up its way to become the hottest Korean TV show, or actually, the hottest TV show in general. Without spoiling too much about the show, today I want to analyze the most noticeable element of this show besides the creepy music, the visual design. Why the color? What are the meanings behind those symbols? What makes this show so distinctive? Let's find out. Hello everyone, welcome to Visual Literacy Hub. This is Angela. I created this channel to record my daily observation and analysis about this very visual world that we live in, because I don't want to be passively consumed by the bombarding visual information thrown at me. I want to stay critical and be a clever consumer. My analysis you see in this channel is 100% personal, nothing close to professional opinions. I want this channel to be about you and I, together, taking our time to see, to think, and to share. Well, let the fun begin. Well, first of all, let's have a look at the posters. These two posters were the reason why I decided to watch this show in the first place. In the first one, the characters with different age and background seems to be running away from this giant door with blood and bodies all over the place, implying that there's something brutal is happening here. But where? We don't see any guns or killers. The only thing that they're running from seems to be this innocent-looking doll in an orange dress, but unproportionately big. The leafless tree looked dead and gloomy, like it's branching out tentacles to catch people. Now, the background is symmetrically designed, so on each side, a house and a pink man whose face that we can't really see, and who seems to be guarding the door somehow. The dominant colors look like they're popping off the screen. The juxtaposition between the panic, the blood, and the childlike element make us wonder, what on earth is going on here? Why are they afraid of this door? And why are they wearing the school uniform and are like numbered? Are they like prisoners? Who are those pink men? A good poster draws your curiosity, and this is definitely a great example of how it could be done. And the second poster is perhaps my favorite one. It's divided into two parts. People on the left are wearing green uniforms. If you're a fan of Asian TV show, you might recognize this as a kind of school sports uniform. It's weird to see grown-ups and old people wearing those school uniforms that are obviously not age appropriate for them, and especially when they're looking serious. But one of them, the old man, seems to be quite happy for some reason, right? People on the right are wearing a vibrant pink full-body uniform with their faces covered behind the black masks with white symbols on them. It's not hard to tell that they have more control here, given that they're holding guns and seem unified and trained. And if you look closely, you also see the different symbols, some triangles and some squares, corresponding to the shape in the title. So I couldn't help but wonder whether those shapes mean something. Clearly, there's a hierarchy among this group, with the man standing in the middle to be more powerful than the others. But hey, one of those men takes his mask off. This makes you wonder, why is he special? Is he one of the pink men? Or is he onto something else by himself? So even they're all from the same group, they seem to have some inner conflict as well. The conflict between these contradictory colors is hinting that these two groups are opposing groups. And since the name of the show is Squid Game, you can't help but to wonder, what kind of game are they playing here? And why don't they seem to be very happy when playing this game, you know? And also, if you're careful enough, you might also notice that for people who are showing their faces on the right side of the poster, there are lights directly shooting from below, so kind of exposing their facial expression to the audience like they can't hide anything. Whereas those in pink uniform are more like immersed in the backlight, which makes them seem more suspicious and gloomy. A good poster can become a determining factor for the audience to watch the trailer, which then greatly adds to their chance of watching the full movie. So I think Squid Game really did a good job in making a very attractive poster. Now, in order for my following analysis to make more sense for people who haven't watched the show, I might just tell a little brief about this show, but also try my best not to spoil too much. So the show is about 456 desperate poor people who are in debt so the ones in green uniforms, for them to participate in this survival game designed by some mysterious rich upper class, where they can win a huge amount of money if they survive 6 children games. But the price they have to pay is their life if they lose. The pink men are soldiers who supervise them and also who can eliminate the participants when necessary. Now, it's nothing that's unheard of, right? You see similar settings in Hunger Games and also a very famous Japanese manga called Kaiji. The poor people gamble their life to survive and to win big prize. But what makes this show so popular is its iconic visual language, the simple nature of the game, and a very earworm song. So let's have a look at the costume design and the props and the symbols, which this show cannot be so successful without them. As mentioned previously, people in greens are desperate and vulnerable poor people. So to me, their color might resemble like earth or the ground, which is at the very low level. Making them wearing the same uniform helps to erase their individuality and identity. The school uniform may also be a way of bringing them back to their school time where they have to follow orders and do what's told. So it's kind of like mentally suppressing their desire to fight back. Interestingly, pink, a color that's normally seen as harmless and cute, is used unexpectedly to elicit fear in this Squid Game. Besides soldiers' pink uniform, the hallway between the dorm and the game area is also sometimes pink. The outfits and weird masks reminds me of ants. So most of the ants look indistinguishable from each other, right? But in an ant colony, ants follow like structure where they have different duties and different works to do. Although every soldier is wearing the same clothes, the shape that's drawn on the mask are like different. The circle represents laborers who deal with like dirty work, such as getting rid of the body or cleaning the area. The triangles represent the soldiers who kill people, who are like a level higher. And the square represents managers who have the right to talk and who keeps an eye on everyone, including the soldiers and laborers themselves. The whole show is full of simple shapes and symbols. Not only the participants are given the number to dehumanize their past identity, but also the soldiers themselves are given the symbol to mark their position in the hierarchy. It's kind of telling me that no matter how high you climb, as long as there are people, there will be hierarchy and consequently inequality. As to the reason why they need to be full body uniform and masked, I heard this theory from somewhere that the reason why people are scared of masked individuals, whether they're wearing a clown mask or Halloween mask, is because when human being cannot see another person's face, we are not be able to evaluate whether he's a friend or an enemy by looking at the person's facial expression. In other words, whenever we meet someone, our natural instinct is to look at their faces and subconsciously diagnose whether we can feel safe around this person or if there's a need to fight or flee. If we apply this theory to this TV show and to many other Hunger Games types of show, it's not hard to understand why we naturally feel alerted around people who don't reveal their faces, because the need of looking for visual clues to ensure our safety exists in our very nature as animals, to make sure that we will be safe. In this show, by covering these pink men tips to toe, it makes them unpredictable and therefore more scary. Another important props in this TV is the golden piggy bank. In this game, we rarely see the sun. The sun was replaced with a piggy game that's high above their dormitory, that the game is constantly having to look up. This symbolizes that for the participants, maybe, the money is their only hope and motive, like the sunlight to everything else in the world. The piggy game, which is another reminder of our childhood, contains 45.6 billion Korean dollars. A child's first attempt to gather money sounds like a positive thing, right? But as we grow old, maybe our desires for substance also expand exponentially to a degree where it consumes humanity. I think that's what it represents here. I love how childlike elements are used throughout this show. contrasting our most innocent and unguarded memories to the most scary scenes of death and violence, rendering the fear to the next level. Speaking of contrast, it is the key principle of visuals used through the whole show, and it's used spectacularly. The 6 games in this show are childhood games in Korea. Very primitive, very simple and fun. But the essence of them is full of losing and winning, like betting, gambling, and physical conflict. And these elements are magnified in the show, leading to bad things like death and betrayal. It is this huge contrast that forms the tension of the story. So visually, a very perfect example of contrast happens in the first game, where a giant door contrasts with the vulnerability of the players. So this giant object symbolizes the absolute power and strength, but it also contrasts with the innocent appearance of the door. Also in the second game, the playground does not really have a useful role here because this game can pretty much happen everywhere when people can sit down. I think it basically exists just for showing the contrast. So people certainly did not expect the body will slide down on the slide, right? Or dead bodies and blood will exist in the playground, which is usually linked to terms like innocence and fun. Imagine if the same thing happens in an abandoned factory. It immediately seems less scary because you expect something unpleasant to happen in a place like that. It's not surprising at all. So by creating this familiarity in an unfamiliar world, this space manipulates not only the players within, but also the audience sitting in front of TV with our deepest memory unexpectedly invaded by those brutal scenes. The stair is another very interesting design that plays with our eyes. Lots of top-down shots of these disorienting stairways, kind of creating an unsettling atmosphere to me. So before and after each game, game participants and soldiers must pass through the stairs, which are painted with bright and lively tones like pink and yellow and blue to create a childlike atmosphere. But the environment contrasts with the scared and exhausted participants who are usually covered in blood and sweat. The structure of this maze-like stairs also strengthens the sense of unrealness so that both the players and the audience are lost in this whimsical scene. Now, lastly, let's touch a little bit about cinematography here. The director used many one-point perspective to immerse the audience as a part of the scene. One-point perspective can be constructed by placing the camera directly opposite from the horizon line and vanishing point. Alright, let's have a look at this example. Because of this technique, the audience's attention will be drawn to the center of the scene where the vanishing point lies. By using one-point perspective in a scene of violence, it is able to amplify the severity of the situation. Even if there's nothing happening, it fixes the audience focus on a particular point, makes them wonder if something will happen, and create an environment of tension and anticipation. Also, lots of bird eye views are used, looking down at the game and its tiny players, kind of emphasizing their vulnerability and hopelessness, and the fact that they are nobody. Nobody cares about them, and that they're manipulated by someone superior, someone who can easily control their destiny. That's all I want to share with you in this episode. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comment below, which is your favorite game? What is the most memorable visual elements to you in this show? What do you think this show is really trying to tell us? And if you're a player, which game can you survive? Like this video and subscribe if you find it interesting or if it inspired some critical thinking in you. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!